didn't see you there. Hello. My name is James Cowan, and I'll be your host this evening. Welcome to Thymele Arts. That's right. Thank you, John Henningsen and Thymele Arts, for allowing us to be here. Much appreciated. This might help. If you haven't noticed already, we've got the spooky vibe going on. That's right. Tonight is going to be killer. Wonderful. How, you may ask, are we going to achieve that? Well, with a little thing I like to call poetry. That's right. Edgar Allan Poetry. Just kidding, his last name is just Poe. Here we go. We're going to set it off with some poems. Thank you, all of us, for stopping in. Here we go. Edgar Allan Poe. Let's read. Yes. Evening Stars. That's right. This one is entitled Evening Star. 'Twas noontide of summer and midtime of night, and stars in their orbits shone pale through the light of the brighter cold moon, mid-planets her slaves, herself in the heavens, her beam on the waves. I gazed a while on her cold smile, too cold for me. There passed as a shroud of fleecy cloud, and I turned away to thee, proud evening star, in thy glory afar, and dearer thy beam shall be, for joy to my heart is the proud part thou bearest in heaven at night. And more I admire thy distant fire than that colder, lowly light. Yes, indeed. And now, a dream within a dream. Take this kiss upon the brow, and in parting from you now, thus much let me avow, you are not wrong, who deemed that my days have been a dream. Yet if hope has flown away in a night or in a day, in a vision or in none, is it therefore the less gone? All that we see or seem is but a dream within a dream. I stand amid the roar of a surf-tormented shore, and I hold within my hand grains of golden sand. How few, yet how they creep through my fingers to the deep while I weep. While I weep. O God, can I not grasp them with a tighter clasp? O God, can I not save one from the pitiless wave? Is all that we see or seem but a dream within a dream? Very possibly. Very possibly. Yes, indeed. Ooh, another one entitled Dream. There we go. In visions of the dark night I have dreamed of joy departed, but a waking dream of life and light hath left me broken-hearted. Ah, what is not a dream by day to him whose eyes are cast on things around him with a ray turned back upon the past? That holy dream, while all the world were chiding, hath cheered me as a lovely beam, a lonely spirit guiding. What though that light through storm and night so trembled from afar? What could there be more purely bright in truth's day star? Oh, he was daydreaming. That's lovely. This one is called The Happiest Day, the Happiest Hour. The happiest day, the happiest hour, my seared and blight heart hath known. The highest hope of pride and power I feel hath flown. Of power, said I, yes, such I ween, but they have vanished long, alas, the visions of my youth have been, but let them pass. And pride, what have I now with thee? Another brow may even inherit the venom thou hast poured on me. Be still, my spirit, the happiest day, the happiest hour mine eyes shall see, have ever seen, the brightest glance of pride and power I feel have been. But were that hope of pride and power now offered with the pain even then I felt, the brightest hour I would not live again. For on its wing was a dark alloy, and as it fluttered fell an essence, powerful to destroy a soul that knew it well. Happiness kills us all. Truth. Truth. Ah! A sonnet. To science! That's right. To science. She blinded me with science. Do, do, do. You blinded me with science. A very wise man once told me that if science has blinded you, then you're doing it wrong. Thank you, Mike Bryant. That was a shout out to you. It's true. And it stands to reason. If science has blinded you, then you are most likely doing it wrong. Words of wisdom. Words of wisdom. Anyways, sonnet to science. Science, true daughter of old time thou art, who alterest all things with thy peering eyes. Why priest thou thus upon the poet's heart, vulture, whose wings are dull realities? How should he love thee? Or how deem thee wise, who wouldst not leave him in his wandering to seek the treasure in the jewel skies, albeit he soared with an undaunted wing? Hast thou not dragged Diana from her car and driven the Hamadryad from the wood? Hamadryad, spelling Hamadryad. You know, the great thing about doing this live, we're going to look it up, and we're all going to learn unless you already know, and then you know, good for you. But I certainly don't know what a Hamadryad, what in God's name? We're going to find out. Here we go. I've got 9 tabs open. Okay, yeah. There we go. Hama, Hadryad. A nymph who lives in a tree and dies when the tree dies. My God. Hast thou not dragged Diana from her car and driven the Hamadryad from the wood to seek shelter in some happier star? Hast thou not torn the Naiad from her flood, the Elven from the green grass, and from me the summer dream beneath a tamarind tree? Whoa, all right. Science kills dreams and imagination. Thank you, Edgar Allan Poe. It is something to think about for sure. Let's see if we can add some music to this music. That's right. All of this, by the way, all of this is done cold. Live before your eyes. For the first time. For the both of us. That's right. Let us see. Let us see. Here we go. This one, la la la. This one is called Spirits of the Dead. Thy soul shall find itself alone mid dark thoughts of the gray tombstone, not one of all the crowd to pry into thine hour of secrecy. Be silent in that solitude which is not loneliness, for then the spirits of the dead who stood in life before thee are again in death around thee, and their will shall overshadow thee. Be still. The night, though clear, shall frown, and the stars shall look not down from their high thrones in the heavens with light like hope to mortals given, but their red robes without beams to thy weariness shall seem as a burning and a fever which would cling to thee forever. The breeze, the breath of God is still, and the mist upon the hill shadowy, shadowy, yet unbroken. It is a symbol and a token, how it hangs upon the trees, a mystery of mysteries. That's spirits of the dead, all 5 of them. Let's see. Let's do the 4 stanzas. Here we go. For those of you just joining us, welcome. This is Edgar Allan poetry being spit to you here at Thymele Arts. Thank you, Thymele, 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 that's right. For anyone who's out there wondering, what the heck is a Thymele? Is he just saying words? What is that? Well, yes, it is a word. But a Thymele is an altar upon which you offer your sacrifice to the god Dionysus, who is the god of revelry and theater. That's right. So Thymele, Thymele, is the altar upon which you make your offering to the gods of theater. Thank you, Thymele, for allowing us to be here. Much appreciated. Thank you, John Henningsen. Much appreciated as well. Over the years, Thymele has been a great support for the artistic community. Any type of art, whether it's residency, dance, music, theater. It has hosted the Fringe Festival. It has hosted concerts. It has hosted Game of Thrones nights. It has hosted many live events, comedy airings, many things. Thank you, Thymele Arts. Please show Thymele Arts some love as we continue this, and John Henningsen some love as we continue this. And here we go. Stanzas. How often we forget all time when lone admiring nature's universal throne, her woods, her wilds, her mountains, the intense reply of hers to our own intelligence. In youth I have known one with whom the earth in secret communing held, as he with it in daylight and in beauty from his birth, whose fevered, flickering torch of life was lit from the sun and stars, whence he had drawn forth a passionate light. Such for his spirit was fit, and yet that his spirit knew not, in the hour of its own fervor, what had o'er it power. 1. 2. Perhaps it may be that my mind is wrought to a fever by the moonbeam that hangs o'er, but I will have believed that the wild light fraught with more sovereignty than ancient lore hath ever told, or is it of a thought the embodied essence, and no more than with a quickening spell doth o'er us pass, as dew of the night time or the summer grass. 3. Doth o'er us pass, when as the expanding eye to the loved object, so the tear to the lid will start, which lately slept in apathy. And yet it need not be that object hid from us in life, but common, which doth lie each hour before us, but then only bid with a strange sound, as if harp strings broken to wake us. 'Tis a symbol and a token. 4. Of what in other words shall be, and given in beauty by our God to those alone who otherwise would fall from life and heaven, drawn by their heart's passion, and that tone, that high tone of the spirit which hath strived, though not with faith, with godliness, whose throne with desperate energy hath beaten down, wearing its own deep feelings as a crown. All the poems are fine. They're good. They're good. They're good. Why don't we move on to something a bit meatier? Yeah. Maybe one of his more famous short stories. Quoth I, nevermore. Do we know where we're going with it? Do we know where we're going with it? I think we do. That's right. Here we go. If you guessed the Raven, you are correct. Here we go. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered, weak and weary, over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door, "only this and nothing more." Ah, distinctly I remember it was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow, vainly I had sought to borrow from my books surcease of sorrow, sorrow for that lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden who the angels named Lenore, nameless here forevermore. And the silken sad uncertain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before, so that now, to the still beating of my heart, I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door, some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. That is this and nothing more." Presently, my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. "Sir," said I, "or madam, truly your forgiveness I implore, but the fact is I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping, tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you. Here I opened the door, darkness there, and nothing more." Deep into that darkness peering along, I stood there wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming, dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave no token, and the only word there was spoken was the whispered word, "Lenore?" This I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word, "Lenore." Merely this, and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning, soon again I heard a tapping somewhat louder than before. "Surely," said I, "surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see then what's threat is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind, and nothing more." Open here I flung the shutter, when with many flirt and flutter in there stepped a stately raven on the saintly days of yore. Not the least obeisance made he, not a minute stopped or stayed he, but with mine of lord or lady perched above my chamber door, perched upon a bust of Pallas just above my chamber door, perched and sat, and nothing more. Then this ebony bird, beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, by the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore, "Though thy crest be shorn and shaven, thou," I said, "art sure no craven, ghastly grim and ancient raven, wandering from the nightly shore? Tell me what thy lordly name is on night's Plutonian shore." Quoth the raven, "Nevermore." Much I marveled this ungainly fowl to hear disclosure so plainly, though its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore, for we cannot help agreeing that no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing a bird above his chamber door, bird or beast upon the sculpted bust above his chamber door, with such a name as Nevermore. But the raven, sitting lonely on the placid bust, spoke only that one word, as if his soul that one word he did outpour. Nothing farther than he uttered, not a feather than he fluttered, till I scarcely more muttered, "Other friends have flown before, on the morrow he will leave me as my hopes have flown before." Then the bird said, "Nevermore." Startled at the stillness broken by reply so aptly spoken, doubtless, said I, what it utters is its only stock and store, caught from some unhappy master, whom unmerciful disaster followed fast and followed faster, till his songs once burden bore, till the dirges of his hopes that melancholy burden bore, of never, nevermore. But the raven still beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of the bird and bust and door. Then upon the velvet sinking I betook myself to linking fancy unto fancy, thinking what this ominous bird of yore, what this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, and ominous bird of yore meant in croaking nevermore. This I sat in guessing, but no syllable expressing to the fowl who fiery eyes burnt into my bosom's core. This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease reclining on the cushion's velvet lining, that lamp-lit gloated o'er, but whose velvet violet lining with lamp-lit gloating o'er she shall press nevermore. Then methought the air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen censer swung by seraphim, whose footfalls tinkled at the tufted floor. Wretch, I cried, thy God hath lent thee, these angels hath thee sent thee, respite, respite from thy memories of Lenore. Quaff, oh quaff this kind, and forget this lost Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still if bird or devil, whether tempter sent or whether tempest tossed thee here ashore, desolate yet all undaunted on this desert land enchanted, on this home by horror haunted. Tell me truly, I implore, is there balm? Tell me, I implore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, by that heaven that bends above us, by that God we both adore, tell this soul with sorrow laden, if when in the distant Aden it shall clasp a saint and maiden, whose angels named Lenore. Glasp and rare radiant maiden, whose angels named Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Be that word our sign of parting, bird or fiend, I shrieked, upstarting. Get thee back into the tempest of night's Plutonian shore. Leave no black plume as token of the lie that soul has spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken. Quit thy bust above my door. Take thy beak from out my heart, and take thy form from my door. Quoth the raven, nevermore. And the raven, never flitting, still is sitting on the pallid bust of Pallas just above my chamber door, and his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming, and the lamplight o'er him streaming throws his shadows on the floor, and my soul from out that shadow lies floating on the floor, shall be lifted nevermore. Caca, caca, caca. It's probably what the raven should have said. I don't know. I've never heard a raven said nevermore. Have any of you heard a raven said nevermore? I've just heard it say caw. In fact, do we even have ravens in California? There's giant crows. What is the difference between a crow and a raven? There is a difference. Ravens are much bigger than crows, I believe. Maybe more of an East Coast thing. I know they have it in the UK. Yeah. All right. This one is called An Enigma. It's a short poem. Seldom we find, says Solomon Dunce, half an idea in the profoundest sonnet. though all the flimsy things we see at once, as easily as though a Naples bonnet, trash of all trash, how can a lady don it? Yet heavier far than you Petrarchian stuff, owl downy nonsense that faintest puff twirls into trunk paper while you con it, and veritably soul is right enough. The general Tucker manatees are errant. This is a lookup word. Tucker manatees. Tuckermanities. Tucker manatees. Let's figure it out. Let's figure it out together. Me and you and me. We're looking up the words that I don't know, you see. The only one for me is you. You for me. Tucker manatees. Tucker manatees. It's not coming up. Tucker manatee. Because it's a word that Edgar Allan Poe made up in 1848. It refers to a man who wrote light sonnets for the Democrats. Look at what you figure out when you look things up. Notes. Though published 2 years after it appeared in the Union Magazine of Literature and Art, March 1848, this version likely is taken from the original manuscripts. Blah, 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 blah. Nope, this is just on the poem. The term Tucker manatees refers to Henry Theodore Tuckerman, 1813 to 1871, who wrote light sonnets for the Democratic Review. In an earlier version, the only version printed in Poe's lifetime, Tucker manatees was given as That's a tough word. Spelling is Petrarchanities. I said it. You all heard it. It was great. Moving on. Although there is no definitive proof, the change is presumed to be Poe's own. Perhaps he made a manuscript which was available in Griswold. That's what it says. Poe had long disliked Tuckerman, whom he called the king of the quietists. Bubbles, ephemeral and so transparent, but this is now, you may depend on it, stable, opaque, immortal, all by dint of the dear names that lie concealed within it. Kind of seems like he was tooting his own horn there. Why don't we jump into El Dorado? Why don't you come to your senses? You've been out riding fences for too long now. El Dorado. His next one's called El Dorado, in case I was being too subtle about it. El Dorado. Gaily bedlit, a gallant knight in sunshine and in shadow had journeyed long, singing a song in search of El Dorado. But he grew old, this knight so bold, and o'er his heart a shadow fell as he found no spot of ground that looked like El Dorado. And As his strength failed him at length, he met a pilgrim's shadow. Shadow, said he, where can it be, this land of El Dorado? Over the mountains of the moon, down the valley of the shadow, ride, boldly ride, the shade replied, if you seek for El Dorado. 4 stanzas. You find El Dorado in 4. How many stanzas does it take to get to the center of an El Dorado pot? This one is for Annie, and so it is titled For Annie. Thank heaven, the crisis, the danger is past, and the lingering illness is over at last, and the fever called living is conquered at last. Sadly, I know I am shorn of my strength, and no muscle I move as I lie at full length, but no matter, I feel I am better at length. And I rest so composedly now in my bed that any beholder might fancy me dead, might start at beholding me, thinking me dead. The moaning and groaning, the sighing and sobbing are quieted now with what horrible throbbing at heart. That horrible, horrible throbbing. The sickness, the nausea, the pitiless pain have ceased with the fever that maddened my brain, with the fever called living that burdened my brain. And oh, of all the tortures, that torture the worst has abated, that terrible torture of thirst for the naphthalene river of passion accursed. I have drank of a water that quenches all thirst. Pause, guess what we're gonna do? That's right, naphthalene. Naphthalene. Spelling is Naphthaline. Can anyone guess where it's from? Nap. If you guess it before I can Google it, I will give you 1,000,000 praises. That's right. 1,000,000 praises. And that, I mean, you might actually do it because I have no idea what I'm doing. What is technology? No. That's an element. Wrong. Naphthalene. Naphthalene, because pH is an F sound. Naphthalene river. They have something called the naphthalene balls. That might be an interesting Google search. Naphthalene River. Oh. It's not a place. It's a type. It's a thing. It's a crystalline aromatic hydrocarbon usually attained by the distillation of coal tar. Ugh. Gross. A white crystalline water insoluble hydrocarbon C10H8 usually obtained from coal tar, used in making dyes or as a moth repellent. Okay, so to take that stanza again. And oh, of all the tortures, that torture the worst has abated, the terrible torture of thirst for the naphthalene river of passion accursed. I have drank of a water that quenches all thirst, of a water that flows with a lullaby sound from a spring but very few feet underground, from a cavern not very far down underground. And ah, let it never be foolishly said that my room in its gloomy and narrow bed, for man never slept in a different bed, and to sleep you must slumber in just such a bed. My tantalized spirit here blandly reposes, forgetting or never regretting its roses, its old agitations of myrtles and roses. For now, while so quietly lying, it fancies a holier odor about it of pansies, a rosemary odor commingled with pansies, with rue and that beautiful Puritan pansies. And so it lies happily bathing in many a dream of the truth and the beauty of Annie, drowned in a bath of the tresses of Annie. Wow. That's sad. I take it she's dead. Oh. Well, let's see what Edgar Allan Poe thinks about his mother, shall we? Yes. This next one is called Sonnet to my... Yes, to my mother. Here we go. She tenderly kissed me, she fondly caressed, and then I fell gently to sleep on her breast, deeply to sleep from the heaven of her breast. When the light was extinguished, she covered me warm, and she prayed to the angels to keep me from harm, to the queen of the angels to shield me from harm. And I lie so composedly now in my bed, knowing her love, that you fancy me dead. And I rest so contentedly now in my bed, with her love at my breast, that you fancy me dead, that you should shudder to look at me, thinking me dead. But my heart, it is brighter than all of the many stars of the heaven, for it sparkles with Annie. It glows with the fire of my love, of my Annie, with the thought of the light of my eyes, of my Annie. Whoa, look at that. Talking about Annie. Someone's got a crush. Also, is anyone else noticing a theme between bed and dead? I think it's more than just an easy rhyme. Just saying. This next sonnet is also called Sonnet to My Mother. Because I feel that in the heavens above, the angels whispering to one another can find among their burning terms of love none so devotional as that of mother. Therefore, by that sweet name I have long called you. You who are more than mother unto me, and fill my heart of hearts where death installed you, in setting my Virginia's spirit free. My mother, my own mother, who died early, was but the mother of myself, but you are the mother to the one I loved so dearly, and thus are dearer than the mother I knew, by that infinity with which my wife was dearer to my soul than its soul life. Oh, break my heart. That is so sweet. That is so sweet. It's a little twisted sweet, but it's so sweet. He loves the mother of the one he loves because he loves her more than he loves himself. Yeah. I mean, dude's got problems, but who doesn't? All right. Shall we read Annabelle Lee? Yes, I think we shall. Good. All right, here we go. It was many and many a year ago, in a kingdom by the sea, that a maiden there lived with whom you may know by the name of Annabelle Lee. And this maiden she lived with no other thought than to love and be loved by me. She was a child, and I was a child in this kingdom by the sea, but we loved with a love that was more than love, I and my Annabelle Lee, with a love that the winged seraphs of heaven coveted her and me. And this was the reason that long ago in this kingdom by the sea a wind blew out of a cloud by night, chilling my Annabelle Lee, so that her high-born kinsman came and bore her away from me to shut her up in a sepulchre in this kingdom by the sea. The angels, not half so happy in heaven, went envying her and me. Yes, that was the reason, as all men know, in this kingdom by the sea, that the wind came out of a cloud chilling and killing my Annabel Lee. But our love, it was stronger by far than the love of those who were older than we, of many far wiser than we. And neither the angels in heaven above nor the demons down under the sea can ever dissever my soul from the soul of the beautiful Annabel Lee. For the moon never beams without bringing me dreams of the beautiful Annabel Lee. And the stars never rise but I see the bright eyes of the beautiful Annabel Lee. And so, all the night tide I lie down by the side of my darling, my life and my bride, in her sepulchre there by the sea, in her tomb by the side of the sea. 1849, that one. It's got a lot of unrequited love happening. Or requited love that just has a very tragic ending. It's interesting. Interesting because when I think of death, I usually think of it as being absent of love in some way. But it's not. You can love something and it can still die. Mr. Poe. Mr. Poe. Wait, Mr. Poe man. Whoa. All right. These next 1, 2, 3, 4. I counted the Roman numerals. The 4 next poems are in a series called The Bells. The Bells by Edgar Allan Poe. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. If you're watching, this is Thymele Arts. My name is James, and I am reading out of this volume of Edgar Allan poetry. Had to do it. Sorry, not sorry. I'm gonna do it again. It's my favorite poetry. That's right. Did it. Okay, so these next ones, like I said, a series of 4 poems called The Bells. We're reading them here in Thymele Arts. Thank you, John Henningsen. Thank you, Thymele Arts, for allowing us to be here and to continue to put work up and to figure out what it means to make work remotely in these crazy times. Here we go. More reading. The Bells. Hear the sledges with the bells, silver bells. What a world of merriment in their melody foretells. How they tinkle, tinkle, tinkle in the night, in the air. Blah. We're going to start that again. Hear the sledges with the bells, silver bells. What a world of merriment their melody foretells. How they tinkle, tinkle, tinkle in the icy air of night, while the stars that oversprinkle all the heavens seem to twinkle with a crystalline delight, keeping time, time, time in a sort of runic rhyme to the tintibulation that so musically wells from the bells, 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 from the jingling and tinkling of the bell. 2. Hear the mellow wedding bells, golden bells. What a world of happiness their harmony foretells. Through the balmy air of night, how they ring out their delight. From the molten golden notes, and all in tune, what a liquid ditty floats to the turtle dove that listens while she gloats on the moon. Oh, from out of the sounding cells, what a gushing euphony voluminously wells. How it swells, how it dwells on the future, how it tells of the rapture that impels to the swinging and the ringing of the bells, bells, bells of the bells, 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 to the rhyming and chiming of the bells. Hear the loud alarum bells, brazen bells. What a tale of terror now their turbulency tells in the startled ear of night. How they scream out their affright, too much horrified to speak. They can only shriek, shriek out of tune in this clamorous appealing to the mercy of fire, in the mad expultation of the deaf and frantic fire, leaping higher, higher, higher with desperate desire and a resolute endeavor now to sit or never by the side of the pale-faced moon. Oh, the bells, 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 what a tale their terror tells of despair, how they clang and clash and roar. What a horror they outpour on the bosom of the palpitating air. Yet the ear, it fully knows by the twanging and clanging how the danger ebbs and flows. Yet the ear distinctly tells in the jangling and the wrangling how the danger sinks and swells by the sinking or the swelling in the anger of the bells, of the bells, of the bells, 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 in the clamor and the clangor of the bells. 4. Hear the tolling of the bells, iron bells. What a world of solemn thought their melody compels. In the silence of the night, how we shiver with affright at the melancholy menace of their tone. For every sound that floats from the rust within their throats is a groan, and the people, the people that dwell up in the steeple all alone, all who toiling, toiling, toiling in that muffled monotone, feel a glory in so rolling on the human heart a stone. They are neither man nor woman, they are neither brute nor human, they are ghouls, and their king it is who tolls as he rolls, 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 a paean from the bells. And his merry bosom swells with the paean of the bells, and he dances and he yells, keeping time, 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 in a sort of runic rhyme to the paean of the bells, keeping time, 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 in a sort of runic rhyme to the throbbing of the bells, 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 to the sobbing of the bells, keeping time, 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 as he knells, 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 in a happy runic rhyme to the rolling of the bells, 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 to the tolling of the bells, 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 to the groaning and the moaning of the bells. A lot of bells. 1849. This is uncollected verses. So this is, I guess, scratch notes that he never actually completed. Hold on. Let's get a change of scenery going. There we go. Here. I'm gonna go get. Stay right where you are. Yeah, I'm on. People watching.
We have 3 viewers.
You know when Mike Bryan's coming up? Just let me know when Mike Bryan comes on. I'll do a little picture with you. All right. Welcome back. This one is called Elizabeth. I shouldn't have changed the lights. Elizabeth, it surely is most fit, logic and common usage so commanding, in thine own book that thy first name be writ, Zeno, and other sages notwithstanding, and I other reasons for so doing, besides my innate love of contradiction. Each poet, if a poet, in pursuing the muses through their bowers of truth or fiction, hath studied very little of his part, read nothing, written less. In short, a fool, endued with neither soul nor sense nor art, being ignorant of one important rule employed in even these of school, called, I forget the Greek name, called anything. Its meaning is the same. Always write first the uppermost. Always write first things uppermost in the heart. I mean, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Hmm. Let's see. Ah. Shall we read some short stories? I laugh because this one is called Bon Bon, and I had not expected that out of Edgar Allan Poe. Bon Bon. Well, we could read this one. I've never read it before. Why not? We can take this adventure together. This one is called Miss Found in a Bottle. Of my country and of my family I have little to say. Ill usage and length of years have driven me from the one and estranged me from the other. Hereditary wealth afforded me an education of no common order, and a contemplative turn of mind enabled me to methodize the stores which early study very diligently garnered up. Beyond all things, the work of the German moralist gave me great delight, not from any ill-advised admiration of their eloquent madness, but from the ease with which my habits of rigid thought enabled me to detect their falsities. I had often been reproached in the aridity of my genius. A deficiency of imagination has been imputed to me as a crime, and of my opinion has all times rendered me notorious. Indeed, a strong relish for physical philosophy has, I fear, tinctured my mind with a very common error of this age. I mean the habit of referring to occurrences, even the least susceptible of such reference, to the principles of science. Upon the whole, no person could be less liable than myself to be led away from the severe precincts of the truth by susceptible superstition. I have thought proper to premise thus much, lest the incredible tale I have to tell should be considered rather the raving of a crude imagination than the positive experience of a mind to which the reveries of my fancy have been a dead letter and a nullity. After many years spent in foreign travel, I sailed in the year 18-something from the port of Batavia in the rich and populous island of Java on a voyage to the archipelago of Sudna Islands. I went as passenger, having no other inducement than a kind of nervous restlessness which haunted me as a fiend. Our vessel was a beautiful ship of about 400 tons, copper-fastened and built at Bombay. She was freighted with cotton wool and oil. We had also on board coir, ghee, coconuts, and a few cases of opium. The stowage was clumsily done, and the vessel consequently cranked. We got under way with mere breath of wind, and for many days stood along the eastern coast of Java without any other incident to beguile the monotony of our course than the occasional meeting with some of the small grabs of the archipelago to which we were bound. One evening, leaning over the taffrail, I observed a very singular isolated cloud to the northwest. It was remarkable, as well for its color as from it being the first we had seen since our departure. I watched it attentively until sunset, when it spread all at once to the eastward and westward, girding in the horizon with a narrow strip of vapor and looking like a long line of low beach. My notice was soon afterward attracted by the dusky red appearance of the moon and the particular character of the sea. The latter was undergoing a rapid change, and the water seemed more than usually transparent. Although I could distinctly see the bottom, yet, having the lead, I found the ship in 15 fathoms. The arrow became intolerably hot and was loaded. The air now became intolerably hot and was loaded with spiral exhaltations similar to those arising from heated iron. As night came on, every breath of the wind died away, and more entire calm it is impossible to conceive. The flame of a candle burned upon the poop without the least perceptible motion, and the long hair held between the finger and the thumb hung without the possibility of detecting a vibration. However, as the captain said, he could perceive no indication of danger, and as we were drifting in bodily to the shore, he ordered the sails be furled and the anchor let go. No watch was set, and the crew, consisting principally of Malays, stretched themselves deliberately upon the deck. I went below, not without a full presentiment of evil. Indeed, every appearance warranted me in apprehending. I told the captain of my fears, but he paid no attention to what I said and left me without designing to give me a reply. My uneasiness, however, prevented me from sleeping, and about midnight I went upon the deck. As I placed my foot upon the upper steep, I was startled by a loud humming noise like that occasioned by the rapid revolution of a mill wheel, and before I could ascertain its meaning, I found the ship quivering to its center. In the next instant, a wilderness of foam hurled up upon our beam ends, and rushing over us fore and aft, swept the entire decks from stem to stern. The extreme fury of the blast proved in great measure the salvation of the ship. Although completely waterlogged, yet, as her masts had gone by the board, she rose after a minute heavily from the sea, and staggering a while beneath the immense pressure of the tempest, finally righted. By what miracle I escaped destruction, it is impossible to say. Stunned by the shock of the water, I found myself, upon recovery, jammed in between the stern post and rudder. With great difficulty I gained my feet, and looking dizzily around, was at first struck with the idea of our being among the breakers. So terrific beyond the wildest imagination was the whirlpool of mountainous and foaming ocean with which we were engulfed. After a while I heard the voice of an old Swede who had the ship with us at the moment of our leaving port. I hallooed to him with all my strength, and presently he came reeling aft. We soon discovered that we were the sole survivors of the accident. All on deck, with the exception of ourselves, had been swept overboard. The captain and the mates must have perished as they slept, for the cabins were deluged with water. Without assistance, we could expect to do little for the security of the ship, and our exertions were at first paralyzed by the momentary expectation of going down. Our cable had, of course, parted like pack thread at the first breath of hurricane, or we should have been instantaneously overwhelmed. We scudded with frightful velocity before the sea, and the water made clear breaches over us. The framework of our stern was shattered excessively, and in almost every aspect we had received considerable injury. Over already, and we apprehended little danger from the violence of the wind, but we looked forward to its total cessation with dismay, believing that in our shattered condition we should inevitably perish in the tremendous swell which would ensue. But this very just apprehension seemed by no means likely to be soon verified, for 5 entire days and nights, during which our only subsistence was a small quantity of jaggery, procured with great difficulty from the forecastle. The hulk flew at a rate defying computation before rapidly succeeding flaws of wind, which, without equaling the first violence, were still more terrific than any tempest I had encountered before. Our course for the first 4 days was, with trifling variations, southeast and by south, and we must have run down the coast of New Holland. On the 5th day, the cold became extreme, although the wind had hauled round a point more to the northward. The sun arose with a sick yellow luster and clambered a few degrees over the horizon, emitting no decisive light. There were no clouds apparent, yet the wind was upon the increase and blew with fitful and unsteady fury. About noon, as nearly as we could guess, our attention was again arrested by the appearance of the sun. It gave out no light, properly so called, but a dull and sullen glow without reflection, as if all rays were polarized. Just before sinking with the turgid sea, its central fires suddenly went out, as if it hurriedly extinguished by some unaccountable power. It was dim, silver-like, grim alone, and it rushed down the unfathomable ocean. We waited in vain for the arrival of the 6th day. That day to me has not arrived. To the Swede, never did arrive. Thenceforward we were enshrouded in pitchy darkness, so that we could not have seen an object at 20 paces from the ship. Eternal night continued to envelop us, all unrelieved by the phosphoric sea brilliancy to which we had been accustomed in the tropics. We observed, too, that although the tempest continued to rage with unabated violence, there was no longer to be continued. We observed, too, that although the tempest continued to rage with unabated violence, there was no longer to be discovered the unusual appearance of surf or foam which had hitherto attended us. All around were horror and thick gloom and black sweltering deserts of ebony. Superstitious terror crept by degrees into the spirit of the old Swede, and my own soul was wrapped in silent wonder. We neglected all care of the ship, and, worse than useless, in securing ourselves, as well as possible, to the stump of the mast, looked out bitterly into the world of the ocean. We had no means of calculating time, nor could we form any guess of our situation. We were, however, well aware of having made farther to the southward than any previous navigators, and felt great amazement at not meeting with the usual impediments of ice. In the meantime, every moment threatened to be our last. Every mountainous billow hurried to overwhelm us. The swells surpassed anything I had imagined possible, and that we were not instantly buried is a miracle. My companion spoke of the lightness of our cargo and reminded me of the excellent qualities of our ship, but I could not help feeling the utter hopelessness of hope itself, and prepared myself gloomily for that death which I thought nothing could defer beyond an hour, as with every knot the ship made, the swelling of the black stupendous seas became more dismalling and appalling. At times we gasped for breath at an elevation beyond the albatross. At times became dizzy with the velocity of our descent into some watery hell where the air grew stagnant and no sound disturbed the slumbers of the kraken. We were at the bottom of one of these abysses when a quick scream from my companion broke fearfully upon the night. "See! See!" he cried, shrieking in my ears. "Almighty God, see! See!" And he spoke. I became aware of the dull sullen glare of red light which streamed down the sides of the vast chasm where we lay, and threw fitful brilliancy upon our deck. Casting my eyes upward, I beheld a spectacle which froze the current of my blood. At a terrific height directly above us, and upon the very verge of precipitous descent, hovered a gigantic ship of perhaps 4,000 tons. Although upon the summit of a wave more than 100 times her own altitude, her apparent size still exceeded that of any ship in existence. Her huge hull was of a deep, dingy black, unrelieved by any of the customary carvings of a ship. A single row of brass cannons protruded from her open ports and dashed from the polished surfaces the fires of innumerable battle lanterns which swung to and fro about her rigging. But what mainly inspired us with horror and astonishment was that she bore up under the press of a sail in the very teeth of that supernatural sea and of that ungovernable hurricane. When we first discovered her, her bows were alone to be seen as she rose slowly from the dim and horrible gulf beyond her. For a moment of intense terror she paused upon the giddy pinnacle as if in contemplation of her own sublimity, then trembled and tottered and came down. At this instant I know not what sudden self-possession came over my spirit. Staggering as far as I could, I awaited fearlessly the ruin that was to overwhelm. Our own vessel was at length ceasing from her struggles and sinking with her head to the sea. The shock of the descending mass struck her, consequently, in that portion of her frame which was already under water, and in the inevitable result was to hurl me with irresistible violence upon the rigging of the stranger. As I fell, the ship hove in stays and went about, and the continuous confusion ensuing I attributed my escape from the notice of the crew. With little difficulty I made my way unperceived to the main hatchway, which was partially open, and soon found an opportunity of secreting myself in the hold. Why I did so I can hardly tell. An indefinite sense of awe, which at first sight of the navigators of the ship had taken hold of my mind, was perhaps the principle of my concealment. I was unwilling to trust myself with the race of people who had offered, to the cursory glance I had taken, so many points of vague novelty, doubt, and apprehension. I therefore thought proper to contrive a hiding place in the hold. This I did by removing a small portion of the shifting boards in such a manner as to afford me convenient retreat between the huge timbers of the ship. I had scarcely completed my work when a footstep in the hold forced me to make use of it. A man passed by my place of concealment with a feeble and unsteady gait. I could not see his face, but had an opportunity of observing his general appearance. There was about it an evidence of a great age and infirmity. His knees tottered beneath a load of years, and his entire frame quivered under the burthen. He muttered to himself in a low, broken tone some words of language which I could not understand, and groped in a corner among the pile of singular-looking instruments and decayed charts of navigation. His manner was a wild mixture of the peevish of the second childhood and the solemn dignity of a god. He at length went on deck, and I saw him no more. A feeling for which I have no name has taken possession of my soul, a sensation which will admit no analysis, to which the lessons of bygone time are inadequate, and for which I fear future itself will offer me no key. To a mind constituted like my own, the latter consideration is an evil. I know that I shall never be satisfied with regard to the nature of my conceptions. Yet it is not wonderful. Yeah, bud.
Yeah, just crossed the 2-hour mark, and it looks like we just dropped down to our last viewer.
Okay, bud. Okay. Yet is it not wonderful that these conceptions are indefinite, since they have their own origins and sources so utterly novel? A new sense, a new entity is added to my soul. It is long since I first trod the deck of this terrible ship, and the rays of my destiny are, I think, gathering to a focus. Incomprehensible men, wrapped up in the mediations of a kind which I cannot divine, they pass by me unnoticed. Concealment is utter folly on my part, for the people will not see. It is but just now that I passed directly before the eyes of the mate. It was no long while ago that I ventured into the captain's own private cabin and took thence materials with which I write and have written. I shall from time to time continue this journal. It is true that I may not find an opportunity of transmitting it to the world, but I will not fail to make the endeavor. At the last moment I will enclose the MS in a bottle and cast it with the sea. Message in a bottle. An incident has occurred which has given me new room for mediation. Are such things the operation of ungoverned chance? I had ventured upon deck and thrown myself down without attracting any notice among the pile of rattling stuff and old sails in the bottom of the yawl. While musings upon the singularity of my fate, I unwittingly daubed the tar brush edges of a neatly folded studding sail which lay near me on a barrel. The studding sail is now bent upon the ship, and the thoughtless touches of the brushes are spread out in the word discovery. I have made my observations lately upon the structure of the vessel. Although well armed, she is not, I think, a ship of war. Her rigging, build, and general equipment, all negative supposition of this kind. What she is not, I can easily perceive. What she is, I fear is impossible to say. I know not how it is, but in scrutinizing her strange model and singular cast of spars, her huge size and overgrown suit of canvas, her severely simple bow and antiquated stern, there will not occasionally flash across my mind a sensation of familiar things, and there is always mixed up within such indistinct shadows of recollection an unaccountable memory of old foreign chronicles and ages long ago. I have been looking at the timbers of the ship. She is built of a material which I am stranger. There is peculiar character about the wood which strikes me as rendering it unfit for the purpose which it has been applied. I mean, it is extreme porousness, considered independently of the worm-eaten condition which is consequence of navigation in the seas. And apart from the rottenness attendant upon age, it will appear perhaps the observation somewhat over-curious, but this would have every characteristic of Spanish oak, if Spanish oak were distended by any natural means. In reading the above sentence, a curious apothegm of an old, weather-beaten Dutch navigator comes full upon my recollection. It is as sure, he was wont to say, when any doubt was entered of his veracity, as sure as there is a sea where the ship itself will grow bulk like the living body of the seaman. Does anyone know what that means? It is as sure, he was wont to say, when any doubt was entered in his veracity, as sure as there is a sea where the ship itself will grow in bulk like the living body. About an hour ago, I made bold to trust myself among a group of the crew. They paid me no manner of attention, and lo, I stood very amidst all of them, seemed utterly unconscious of my presence. Like the one I had first seen in the hold, they all bore them the marks of my hoary old age. Their knees trembled with infirmity, their shoulders were bent double with decrepitude, their shriveled skins rattled in the wind. Their voices were low, tremulous, and broken. Their eyes glistened with the rheum of years, and their gray hairs streamed terribly in the tempest. Around them, on every part of the deck, lay scattered mathematical instruments of the most quaint and obsolete construction. I have seen the captain face to face, and in his own cabin, but as I expected, he paid me no attention. although his appearance there is, to a casual observer, nothing which might bespeak him more or less than man. Still a feeling of irrepressible reverence and awe mingled with the sensation of wonder which I regarded him. In stature he is nearly my own height, that is, about 5 feet 8 inches. He is of well-knit and compact frame of body, neither robust nor remarkable otherwise, but it is the singularity of the expression which reigns upon the face. It is the intense, the wonderful, thrilling evidence of old age, so utter, so extreme, which excites within my spirit a sense, a sentiment ineffable. His forehead, although wrinkled, seems to bear upon it the stamp of a myriad of years. His gray hairs are records of the past, and his grayer eyes are sibyls of the future. The cabin floor was thickly strewn with strange iron-clasped folios and moldering instruments of science and obsolete, long-forgotten charts. His head was bowed down upon his hands, and he pored with fiery, unquiet eye over a paper which I took to be a commission, and which, at all events, bore the signature of a monarch. He muttered to himself, as did the first seaman who I saw in the hold, some low, peevish syllables of foreign tongue, and although the speaker was close to my elbow, his voice seemed to reach my ears from the distance of a mile. The ship and all in it are imbued to the spirit of eld. The crew glide to and fro like ghosts of buried centuries. Their eyes have eager and uneasy meaning, and when their fingers fall athwart my path in their wild glare of battered lanterns, I feel I have never felt before, although I have been all my life a dealer in antiquities and have imbibed the shadows of fallen. My soul has become a ruin. When I look around me, I feel ashamed of my former apprehension. If I trembled at the blast which has hitherto attended us, I shall not stand aghast at warring of the wind and ocean to convey any idea of which words the tornado are trivial. All in the immediate vicinity of the ship is the blackness of eternal night and a chaos of foamless water, but about a league on either side of us may be seen indistinctly and at intervals stupendous ramparts of ice towering away into the desolate sky and looking like walls of the universe. As I imagined, the ship proves to be in a current, if that appellation can properly be given to a tide which, howling and shrieking by the white ice, thunders on to the southward with velocity like a headlong dash of a cataract. To conceive the horror of my sensation is, I presume, utterly impossible. Yet a curiosity to penetrate the mysteries of these awful regions predominates even over my despair and will reconcile me to the most hideous aspects of death. It is evident that we are hurrying onward to some exciting knowledge, some never-to-be-imparted secret, whose attainment is destruction. Perhaps this current leads us to the southern pole itself. It must be confessed that a supposition apparently so wild has every probability in its favor. The crew pace the deck with unquiet and tremulous step, but there is upon their countenance an expression of the most eagerness of hope than the apathy of despair. In the meantime, the wind is still in our poop, and we carry a crowd of canvas. The ship is at times lifted bodily from the sea. Oh, horror upon horror. The ice opens suddenly to the right and to the left, and we are whirling dizzyingly in immense concentric circles round and round the borders of gigantic amphitheater, the summit of whose walls is lost in the darkness and the distance. But little time will be left me to ponder upon my destiny. The circles grow rapidly small. We are plunging madly within the grasp of the whirlpool, and amid a roaring and bellowing and thundering of the ocean and tempest, the ship is quivering, going down. The message in a bottle. Yeah, that's it. And the message going down, going down. Meh. Meh. I mean, beautiful words. Not his greatest story. That was kind of a bore fest. All right.
We're back up to 3.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Let's see. Bernice? We do. No, let's not do Bernice. Morella. Hey, Morella. Hey, Morella. Ella. A. Let's see. Here we go, reading some more Poe. Let's see if we can't get a juicy one. That last one almost put me to sleep. I shouldn't be saying that, but it's true. Here, I don't know if that helped at all. Let's give ourselves different lights. No. Let's do this one. It's called Silence, a fable. Listen to me, said the demon as he placed his hand upon my head. The region of which I speak is a dreary region in Libya by the borders of the river Zar, and there is no quiet there nor silence. The waters of the river have saffron and sickly hue, and they flow not onward to the sea, but palpitate forever and forever beneath the red eye of the sun with a tumultuous and convulsive motion. For many miles on either side of the river's oozy bed is a pale desert of gigantic water lilies. They sigh one unto the other, that is solitude, and stretch toward the heavens their long and ghastly necks, and nod to and fro their everlasting heads. And there is an indistinct murmur which cometh out from among them like rushing of water, and they sigh unto one another. But there is a boundary to their realm, the boundary of the dark, horrible, lofty forest. There, like the waves about the low underwood, is agitated continually. But there is no wind throughout heaven, and the tall, primeval trees rock eternally hither and thither with a crashing and a mighty sound. And from their high summits, one by one, drop everlasting dews. And the roots, strange poisonous flowers, lie writhing in perturbed slumber, and overhead, with a rustling and a loud noise, the gray clouds rush westwardly forward until they roll a oh, God, no, we're not doing this. Blech. So much. Let us see. Ooh. Why not? Here we go. The Mask of the Red Death. That's right. The Red Death had long devastated the country. No pestilence had ever been so fatal or so hideous. Blood was at its avatar and its seal. The redness of the horror of blood. There were sharp pains and sudden dizziness, and then profuse bleeding at the pores with dissolution. The scarlet stains upon the body, and especially upon the face of the victim, were the pest band which shut him out from the aid and from the sympathy of his fellow man. And the whole seizure, progress, and termination of the disease were the incidents of about half an hour. But the Prince Prospero was happy and dauntless and sagacious. 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 I think that has something to do with wisdom. Let us figure it out. Sagacious. Having or showing acute mental discernment and keen practical sense. Yes. Being a sage. Blah 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 is what I say. I mean, Mask of the Red Death is a good one. Blah blah blah. That's what I say. Been at this for 2 hours, apparently. Let's see. We can save that for next time. The American drama. Blech. Oh, they're notes from the editors. Let's see. Let's go back to poems. That's right. This one is called Song. I saw thee on thy bridal day, when a burning blush came over thee, though happiness around thee lay, the world all love before thee. And in thine eye a kindling light, whatever it may be, was all on earth my aching sight of loveliness could see. That blush perhaps was maiden shame, as such it well may pass, though its glow hath raised a fiercer flame in the breast of him, alas, who saw thee on that bridal day, when that deep blush would come o'er thee, though happiness around thee lay, the world all love before thee. Oh, that wasn't sad at all. I had assumed that one was going to get sad, but it did not. This one's called Tamerlane. 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 The rain came down upon my head unsheltered, and the heavy wind rendered me mad and deaf and blind. It was but man, I thought, who shed laurels upon me, and the rush, the torrent of the chilly air gurgled within my ear the crush of empires, with the captive's prayer, the hum of suitors, and the tone of flattery round a sovereign's throne. My passions, from that hapless hour, usurped a tyranny which men have deemed, since I have reached to power, my innate nature. Be it so. But, Father, there lived one who then in my boyhood, with their fire, burned with a still intenser glow, for passion must with youth expire, even then, who knows this iron heart in woman's weakness had a part. I have no words, alas, to tell the loveliness of loving well, nor would I now attempt to trace the more than beauty of my face, whose lineaments upon my mind are shadows of the unstable wind. Thus I remember having dwelt some page of early lore upon with loitering eye, till I have felt the letters with their meaning melt to fantasies with none. Oh, she was worthy of all love. Love, as in infancy, was mine. 'Twas such an angel minds above might envy her young heart the shrine, a which my every hope and thought were incense, then a goodly gift, for they were childish and upright. Pure as her young example taught, why did I leave it? And adrift, trust to fire within for light. No. Oh my God. Ugh. All right. Where is he? Where's Mike Bryant? I want to read Redfish, Bluefish.
I will actually earmark this and be able to send it to him directly.
Okay. Okay. So can I can I read Redfish, Bluefish? because a lot of Poe, 2 hours of Poe in my brain is starting to make things bleak.
My brain is starting to melt as well.
Yeah.
Let's do redfish, bluefish.
Yay! Ladies and gentlemen, we have got quite the lovely surprise. We have for a dear friend of ours, Mike Bryant, prepared the one and only redfish, bluefish, redfish, bluefish. That's all right. I'm still getting it up. Do you see me playing with the lights? Redfish, bluefish, redfish, bluefish. For anyone questioning what just happened, that was the moment that the last little bits of sanity has finally left my brain. Oh man, we got it. We did it. We did it. Did it. Did it. We did it. All right, let's see. 1, 2, buckle my shoe. Great, here we go. One fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish, black fish, blue fish, old fish, new fish. This one has a little car, this one has a little star. Say, what a lot of fish there are. Yes, some are red and some are blue, some are old and some are new, some are sad and some are glad, and some are very, very bad. Why are they sad and glad and bad? I do not know. Go ask your dad. Some are thin and some are fat. The fat one has a yellow hat. From there to here, from here to there, funny things are everywhere. Here are some who like to run. They run for fun in the hot, hot sun. Oh me, oh my, oh me, oh my, what a lot of funny things go by. Some have 2 feet and some have 4. Some have 6 feet and some have more. Where do they come from? I can't say, but I bet they have come a long, long way. We see them come, we see them go. Some are fast, some are slow. Some are high, some are low. Not one of them is like another. Don't ask us why. Go ask your mother. That's right. Say, look at his fingers. 1, 2, 3. How many fingers do I see? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He has 11. 11. This is something new. I wish I had 11 too. Bump, bump, bump. Did you ever ride a wump? We have a wump with just 1 bump, but we know a man called Mr. Gump. Mr. Gump has 7 hump wumps. So, if you like to go bump, bump, just hump on the wump of Gump. Who am I? My name is Ned. I do not like my little bed. This is no good. This is not right. My feet stick out of bed all night, and when I pull them in, oh dear, my head sticks out of bed up here. We like our bike, it is made for three. Our Mike sits up in back, you see. We like our Mike, and this is why. Mike does all the work when the hills get high. Hello there, Ned, how do you do? Tell me what is new? How are things in your little bed? What is new? Please tell me, Ned. I do not like this bed at all. A lot of things have come to call. A cow, a dog, a cat, a mouse. Oh, what a bed. Oh, what a house. Oh dear, I cannot hear. Will you please come over near? Will you please look in my ear? There must be something there, I fear. Say, look, a bird was in your ear, but he is out, so have no fear. Again, you can hear, my dear. My hat is old, my teeth are gold. I have a bird I like to hold. My shoe is off, my foot is cold. My shoe is off, my foot is cold. I have a bird I like to hold. My hat is old, my teeth are gold. And now my story is all told. We took a look, we saw a nook. On his head he had a hook. On his hook he had a book. On his book was how to cook. We saw him sit and try to cook, but a nook can't read, so a nook can't cook. So what good to a nook is a hook cookbook? The moon was out, and we saw some sheep. We saw some sheep take a walk in their sleep. By the light of the moon, by the light of the stars, they walked all night from near to far. I would never walk, I would take a car. I do not like this one so well, and he does is yell, yell, yell. I will not have this one about. When he comes in, I put him out. This one is quiet as a mouse. I like to have him in our house. At our house, we open cans. We have to open many cans, as that is why we have Zans. A Zans for cans is very good. Have you a Zans for cans? You should. I like to box, how I like to box, so every day I box a gox. In yellow socks I box my gox, I box in yellow gox box socks. It is fun to sing if you sing with a ying. My ying can sing like anything. I sing my high and my ying sings low, and we are not too bad, you know? This one, I think, is called a yink. He tries to wink, he likes to drink, he likes to drink and drink and drink. The things he likes to drink is ink. The ink he drinks is pink. He likes to wink and drink pink ink. So, if you have a lot of ink, you should get a yink, I think. Hop, 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 I am a yop, and all I like to do is hop. From finger top to finger top, I hop from left to right, and then hop, hop, I hop right back again. I like to hop all day and night, from right to left and left to right. Why do I like to hop, hop, hop? I do not know. Go ask your pop. Brush, 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 brush. Comb, comb, comb. Comb. Blue hair is fun to brush and comb. All girls who like to brush and comb should have a pet like this at home. Who is this pet? Say he is wet. You never yet made a pet, I bet, as wet as they that let this wet pet get. Did you ever fly a kite in bed? Did you ever walk with 10 cats on your head? Did you ever drink milk this kind of cow? Well, we can do it now. We know how. If you never did, you should. These things are fun, and fun is good. Hello? Hello? Are you there? Hello? I called you up to say hello. I said hello. Can you hear me, Joe? Oh no, I cannot hear your call. I cannot hear your call at all. This is not good, and I know why. A mouse has cut the wire. Goodbye. From near to far, from here to there, funny things are everywhere. These yellow pets are called the Zeds. They have one hair upon their heads. Their hair grows fast, so fast they say they need a haircut every day. Who am I? My name is Ish. On my hand I have a dish. I have this dish to help me wish. When I wish to make a wish, I wave my hand with a big swish, swish. Then I say, I wish for fish, and I get fish right on my dish. So, if you wish to make a wish, you may swish for wish with my ish wish dish. At our house we play out back. We play a game called Ring the Gack. Who would like to play this game? Come on down. We have the only gack in town. Look what we found in the park in the dark. We will take it home. We will call him Clark. He will live at our house. He will grow and grow. Will our mother like this? We don't know. And now, good night. It is time to sleep, so we will sleep with our pet Zeep. Today is gone. Today was fun. Tomorrow is another. Every day, from here to there, funny things.
are everywhere.